Let's get into it. Now I charge per breath. I was overlooked. Now I'm booked past death. Had tables turned. I flipped the room. Now they whisper my name like I'm bad juju. I birthed trends they try to mimic. Did it solo, ain't no gimmick. They took notes while throwing shade. Now they pressed and I got paid. I'm not one of them. I'm one of one. Trying to match my glow. Baby, you're outdone. I'm made for bigger. Now basic. Made for thrones, not fake shit. I don't chase, I check. I don't follow, I flex. I'm made for bigger things. Tell the room I said what I said. Big body blessings, big boss moves. Try me and end up a lesson. They talk about me in rooms I don't enter. I haunt them like regret, make them bitter in the center. I'm that girl, the headline in the smoke. They playing in mirrors, I'm shattering your.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Astria show on 90.1. I am your host, Astria Goolsby, and we have another amazing interview for you guys today. Today, we're going to be talking about our seniors, the heart of our community, the diamonds in our community, those special spots in our hearts, and the caregivers, okay? And remember, it is June, so this is Men's Health Month. So men, I want you guys listening up and seeing what you can hear to help you guys manage your health. And today I have a special guest. We have Dr. Criddle. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Yes, we have Dr. Criddle joining us. How are you doing, Dr. Criddle?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know your schedule is busy, and so we'll try to keep this as short and informative as possible. All right, Dr. Criddle, if you would, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
As the Aging Division Director here at Central Mississippi Plan Development District, I've been here for 27 years. So serving our seniors and our caregivers and disabled population is what I do and love. And so one of my responsibilities is to ensure there are resources and services for our aging and caregiver population here in the Central Mississippi area, which covers 7 counties. And just my main responsibility is for making sure services and programming is available for them to enjoy and to be able to access, as well as to provide other resources for them so they can stay at home as long as possible and so they can age respectfully and with dignity.
Yes, I love it. So would your community, would your organization, do you guys go out into other organizations and set up programs, or do people come to your actual physical facility to participate in programs?
Actually, what we do is we're in the process of it now, is that we go out through RFPs, which is our request for proposals, and we go through a proposal process where individuals that are interested in providing services through our agency submit their proposals. Their proposals are rated through a competitive process, and from there we identify those agencies that have been selected to carry those services out within our 7-county area. However, there are some programs that we do provide in-house, such as our, caregiver support group, or we may have our emergency response programs or emergency services, and some of our evidence-based programs. We do those in-house, but majority of our home and community-based programs are contracted out to local providers in the community.
I have so many questions behind that one statement, but I'm gonna dive into the questions, and we're gonna get to those. And I'm sure you're gonna answer some of my questions about all the questions that I ask you.
Yes.
All right. So the first question, Dr. Criddle, when you're talking about care of a loved one, is it easy for them to focus and forget about yourself when they're caring for other people? And how can caregiving start to affect your own health and well-being? So do you see that a lot of people really forgetting to take care of themselves when they become a caregiver for their loved ones?
Absolutely. So we know that caregiving is one of the most meaningful things that a person can do, but it can also be physically, emotionally, and mentally demanding. And so many caregivers oftentimes put their own needs aside because they're so focused on helping a loved one remain safe and independent. So over time, that can lead to chronic stress, fatigue, sleep problems, anxiety, some depression, and even physical health issues, such as like high blood pressure or weakened immunity systems. And so we often see caregivers that neglect their routine medical appointments, exercise, healthy eating, and social connection. So because all of their time is primarily focused on taking care of the loved one. So we oftentimes tell our caregivers here at Central Mississippi Plain Development District that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you have to take care of yourself, and taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's just an essential part of being able to continue to care for someone. So we have our caregiver support groups. We have several, we have two caregiver support groups that meet monthly.
Mhm.
And one of them is for our caregivers, and the other one is for grandparents. And so at those caregiver support groups, we like to love on our caregivers a little bit because they are stressed, and they do need the support and the resources. So we tend to do that monthly, and they love coming. And we have had our support group for over 10 years, and we just recently started the grandparent support group about probably about last 2 to 3 years maybe. And so we're building up those programs, and we love to have our caregivers join us.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you said something in the beginning. You talked about how you guys inform your caregivers that they're not being selfish.
Hmm.
There's something I want to touch on because we're talking about when you're starting out as a caregiver. I've seen two different types of the beginning of that journey. I
Hmm.
remember my aunt when my grandmother needed a caregiver, and my aunt it's almost like my family had family meetings, and they were prepared and they knew who was going to be the caregiver when my grandmother needed a caregiver,
Hmm.
and they had the house set up, they had my grandmother's room set up, so the transition was it was like that's how it's supposed to go.
Hmm.
Me as a younger person seeing that I always knew that my aunt would be the caregiver for my grandmother. Everyone knew that. And so she was able to prepare her life, retire
Hmm.
as a truck driver, do those things, right?
Hmm.
Then I've also seen another family member who became a caregiver, and it was almost like I had to talk to them and say, "Hey, you're a caregiver now,"
Hmm.
because they didn't quite understand that it was their spouse, and they didn't quite understand the transition
Hmm.
that was happening. So
Right.
that seems to me like that would be a shock on your system,
Hmm.
especially when you're caring for a spouse and all of a sudden your spouse can't do the things that they
Right.
used to do and they're needing more assistance.
Hmm.
Um, have you seen that two different dynamics, and are there other dynamics of becoming a caregiver that people should be aware of?
Yeah, so those are some great points. A lot of times people may be in denial,
Mm-hmm.
and denial sometimes sets in, and they fail to plan. So oftentimes, your first scenario, it gave me a thought when I heard you say it, is that
Mm-hmm.
I saw that the family came together, and they planned, and they put things in place. So what happens, sounds like to me, is that in a family meeting, which is always encouraged, because everybody can take a role. I often tell my sister, when if it ever happens and we become have to care for our mother, is that I'm not a cook. So I wouldn't do the cooking, but assign me to clean. I can clean well. So I
Mm-hmm.
can clean the house. I can maybe go to the grocery store. So I would have a role. So if everybody has a specific role, then it would not be as taxing on everybody in the family. Sometimes, if all of that responsibility is placed on one person, that person can become very resentful to the family. They can also burn out quickly from having to, take on that full responsibility, because it is again, we talk about, although it's a labor of love, it is very, can be very stressful. So
It's
if it's
labor.
shared, the responsibility is shared, then everybody is involved. Now, there will be a main caregiver, understandably, but that caregiver should also be given the opportunity to take breaks. They may need to have respite, and that's what we call respite in terms of respite, RESPITE. So it's taking a rest,
Uh-huh.
and they can take a break from actually providing care for just for that moment. So whether they can go to they may want to work in the garden, they may want to go out for tea, to the movies, get a massage, or even go to the doctor themselves. And so I do love the fact when you shared about the family coming together and planning and properly planning. Now, the other scenario that you gave me, it sounded more like an individual maybe was in denial that
Mm-hmm.
their life was about to change and they was making a tremendous change. And so I can just imagine not accepting the fact that, hey, I need to put some things in place and I have got to proper proper plan in order for this to work out for my family. And so we oftentimes have seen caregivers that die before the person that they're actually caring for,
Really?
because they have not, they don't take care of themselves, and they may neglect their own health issues.
And so, I did notice how caregivers did not, how challenging it is for caregivers,
Mhm.
regardless on how you get into the situation of becoming a caregiver.
Right.
The role of a caregiver is very challenging.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier, and I was talking about programs when I worked with Tougaloo College,
Hmm.
put together self-management programs. And I remember in our chronic disease self-management program, I had a couple of caregivers that came. And I was like, I didn't think about that. I was thinking about my seniors or my people who actually had chronic conditions. I didn't think about caregiving.
Hmm.
And because they are a caregiver, they use the same tools and methods and techniques to help them manage the challenges of being a caregiver. And when they shared their stories, my heart really went out. And it really, I mean, when you're young, Dr. Criddle, you think you just know so much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you run into things and situations in life. And God, a lot of times people play parts so that you can see.
Hmm.
You can actually experience it instead of just being able to talk about it, because to read about things is one thing, but when you're, I call it, in the trenches, and you actually see those situations play out, you can see the real challenge that people have. So it seems like as I've matured, I'll say
Hmm.
that, as I've matured in life, I've become an easier trainer. I've become a type of trainer that is a little more understanding of life and helping people to work around these challenges.
Hmm.
Because being a caregiver, man, I mean, especially the person that is not expecting to be a caregiver.
Right.
I've the ones that I've seen that has happened to, I really had to check on them,
Hmm.
because I could tell when they express it, and I have to kind of help them to take that realization in. If it feels, the energy that comes to me feels like a borderline of depression,
Hmm.
that is like almost about to set in, because what can you say when you say, yes, your life changed yesterday
Yes.
when
Hmm.
you left the doctor with your husband or your wife or your mother or your father or your child.
Right.
And so I do want to go into a little bit about, you mentioned grandparents
Hmm.
I didn't see, you just gave me something else. You
Yeah.
just gave me a whole new perspective of how grandparents, because I was raised by my grandparent. And when I say raised, I mean, I got off the bus every day at my grandmother's house.
Hmm.
And anytime my parents had something to do, I'm going to my grandmother's house. I knew
Hmm.
what that was, but my grandmother, we had clothes there as well. We got
Right.
off the bus, went to school. She helped.
Hmm.
Well, she helped with homework, but it was do your homework.
Hmm.
But grandparents becoming caregivers, can you tell me a little bit about the different ways of that, what that transition is like when you realize that you are the actual caregiver for that child and not just playing that grandparent role?
Right. So I did mention about the grandparent support group. So sometimes grandparents are they become parents for the second time, and sometimes those things that were predominantly majority of the time that's not expected, because you're expected to be in the role of a grandparent, right? Because
Mhm.
you have at this point have raised your children. So for life circumstances happen, and then here you are, you're a grandparent. You're thinking, okay, I'm a grandparent. I've retired. I've raised my children. Now it's time for me to enjoy some things that I did not get a chance to when I was being a primary parent. So now you have this child that you're now responsible for.
Mhm.
All over, you're starting all over again.
Mhm.
School, extracurricular activities, dealing with, adolescents. You're dealing with a lot of different things, going to parent teacher conferences, all of those things you start over with. And so, understanding now, think about how grandparents, I'll use me when my daughter was growing up, social media was nowhere where it is now. Can you imagine being a grandparent raising a teenager in today's world with social media being as relevant as it is? You know, back then for me, MySpace, I think MySpace was out when I was raising my daughter. Hey, and so me making sure she doesn't have a MySpace page
Right.
was like a big deal to me. So can you imagine now raising a teenager when everything is internet based? Social media is, has taken over people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that would be that's a tremendous responsibility, and them trying to navigate how to, raise a child in today's society.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. Thank you for making us aware of that. That is something really. I'm gonna see what I can do for that population of people, because I just don't think about those things. So I
Yeah,
thank you. This is why we have this show.
absolutely. We, like I mentioned about our grandparent support group, they meet at our Lakeland Drive office on the first Mondays of every month.
Hmm.
And during that time, they share their concerns. They talk about things that is going on with the grandchildren, and then they talk about what's going on with themselves. What are they experiencing?
Hmm.
At the same time, they may do some arts and crafts. They may have a speaker come in. I know sometimes they do. They were learning how to knit. I know that was at one point. Plant. They do a lot of painting, and just spend time with each other. And so they have become a little family, um, because they're people that they can identify with that are going through some of the same things that they're going through. And so resources are shared during that time, and they just love it, enjoy it. And I'm so happy that we have that safe space. It's a safe space for them to interact and to talk about their experiences.
Do you all provide any technology education programs for those grandparents? Because that's a
Hmm.
very good point. Because a social media platform comes out every other day.
Hmm.
I was looking at someone's page and they had like seven. I was like, "What are these platforms? I'm behind. I have Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn."
Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's a good idea. I don't think they have now I'm not saying they have not been discussing it, but I don't recall us having an actual session on it to teach them anything. So that's a great point. I need to mention to the coordinator that maybe they can present that as an option to kind of go over those some of those things with them. I'll share
and
that.
if nothing else, just parental controls on
Hmm. Yeah.
those, how to navigate parental controls on that, the television, because you have YouTube,
Hmm.
TV, everything's a smart TV now,
Yeah. Hmm.
and so I think that would be helpful. I'm glad I was able to help. All
Thank
right.
you.
Yes, you are welcome.
Hmm.
I do want to touch on another topic before you have to go. I want to talk about men's. It is Men's Health Month, and we don't hear a lot about men caregivers. That's not something when you think of caregiver, my brain, being in the era where I grew up, my brain does automatically go to a woman. Not saying that only women are caregivers, but we do have some men caregivers.
Yes.
And a lot of men take care of their parents. I do know men who live with their parents because their parents are older. They have to go and check on their parents, their spouses, and maybe even some family members.
Mhm.
What are some challenges that you see specifically our men face when when they become caregivers?
Okay, that's an important conversation because millions of men across the country serve as family caregivers. Many, again, are caring for spouses, aging parents, siblings, other relatives. And so, one challenge is that men oftentimes may be less likely to seek support and
Mhm.
openly talk about the emotional aspects of caregiving. So, some may feel pressure to handle everything on their own or may not be aware of available resources. So men also often find themselves balancing caregiving. We think about it with a full-time employment and other family responsibilities. So in addition, tasks such as managing personal care, medications, or navigating healthcare systems can be overwhelming for anyone who suddenly finds themselves in a caregiver role. So we encourage, what we encourage is for all caregivers, being included, to recognize that asking for help is not a sign of, is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. And so in our caregiver support group that meets on the third Monday here in our Pearl office, we have several men that come, they enjoy, they're ever present at those meetings. They try not to miss. They have built a bond between themselves. And so they interact in all the activities, whatever we have. Even if we have, we had a floor arrangement activity one time.
Floral,
Floral. They had flowers, and it was, I think the focus was on blooming. So blooming into being in a caregiver and in the aging process. And so they actually made the floor arrangements. So whatever is there, whatever activity is there, they jump right on in. They don't hesitate. They offer, actually they bring their friends that are caregivers. So they bring people with them. So they bring other men. So that is how our caregiver group has grown tremendously with the men that are caregivers, and they bring people with them. So we love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you guys provide any type of screenings for your patrons?
Well, we do have a program. We have a couple of programs. It's called T-Care. It's like an education. Well, it's an evidence-based program where we do an assessment to determine if the caregiver is suffering from burnout, depression, those chronic issues in terms of that. And we also have a program called True Alta, and it is an evidence-based program where caregivers can sign up on the True Alta system. When they sign up, they can join an evidence-based program. It's where they can take classes and they get educational information, and they can do it at their own pace. And so that is something that we do offer, those two things as well.
Do you have to be a part of your program in order to participate in the True Alta programs?
Oh, no, it's on our website. If they go on our website, they can click the link and sign up. And our website is www.cmpdd.org. So that's C as in cat, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, D as in David, D as in dog.org. And they can click Area Agency on Aging. And at the lower bottom right-hand side of the screen, they'll see True Alta, where they can click and they can join.
This is a wonderful program. And I know coming out of Jackson, there's a lot of programs in Mississippi.
Yes,
so another reason that inspired me to have this show is because I do want to make sure that people understand what programs are available out there. And just because they're in Jackson, people think that, oh, I'm not in that area. So I would want to ask, what programs are for people that might not fall in you said you guys have a 7-county service area. And so what if I'm in Oxford and I hear this show and I'm like, I want my dad, because he's the one at home taking care of mama. He won't let me do anything. And I know that he needs some help, but he's not going to listen because he's the man, right? So tell us what you guys provide that can assist those who are not within your 7-county service area.
Oh, that's a great question. Actually, I only really serve the 7-county area. There are 10 planning and development districts. So I happen to be the director at the Central Planning and Development District. There are, and you're in Oxford. So you're going to
Oxford. So I like to make sure they get a little piece of this.
Okay. So you're going to be up there, Three Rivers. I think it's in your area.
Three Rivers. Yes. I have heard of Three Rivers.
So there are, again, all 82 counties are covered with an area agency on aging.
Okay. So this is a statewide program, not just a Central Mississippi program.
Now, yes, to some of that and no.
Okay. I'm listening.
All planning and development districts may not have a support group now.
Okay.
We do have the autonomy. We all have our own, we're separate entities. We all have our own board of directors. So we're not like we're all under one planning and development district. We're individual, but we're all area agencies on aging. So we have some things that we must do according to the Older Americans Act, and according to our contracts with Mississippi Department of Human Services Division of Age and Adult Services. So there are some things that we must do, but there are other things that we have the autonomy to create programs that are needed in our areas. So we have what we call public hearings, and we listen to our seniors in our communities. We listen to our caregivers, and so we have ways of listening to hear because what works in Jackson may not work in a smaller city in northern or the south part or in the Delta. Some things may not work, so we don't do everything the same, but we do some things the same.
I'm so glad you said that, because I'm all about assess and then educate yourself on the findings of the assessment, and then you move to create programs and services. I'm all about that, because it's not the same.
Yes.
No, I'm like,
population is different.
What if you don't have any grandparents in this area? Why would you have a grandparent support group?
Absolutely.
You use those resources for the services that are actually needed. So I love that. But you all provide support of some sort across and within all the 82 counties.
Yes. So some things that are similar, such as meals, the home delivered meals program, the congregate meals program, and our use congregate meals program. Although all of us provide meals, all of us may not have as many congregate meal sites in the area, based on if people show an interest in attending a site.
So what I'm hearing is that I need you guys. Now it's the part where I become your personal fitness professional listeners. Okay. I need you all to start getting on these sites and completing the assessments. I didn't say sign up and take one day out of the week and go and participate, but I need you to let the programs know what you need, because I do understand, one, that just because a service is there, sometimes people's mental and life situation does not add up to where they can participate, right? But it's good to know that they have what you need when you need it.
Yes.
So I'm encouraging all of my listeners, if you know of someone who is a caregiver, if you are a caregiver, if you are a grandparent, and again, it's not that you need the services, but if you are a grandparent and you are a caregiver, go and complete these assessments and let them know what services would be useful for you, just in case those situations turn, because life is forever moving. Just like wellness, it goes up and down, and you never know when you're going to need these services. And if people don't participate, you guys can't provide the programs and services that they need. I know that for a fact.
Yes.
I'm all about assessments. So is there any information you want to leave the community with, whether they are an aging adult or a caregiver of an aging adult? Is there any advice or anything you want to leave the listeners with?
A couple of things. I know caregiver guilt is very common. So many people feel that every moment should be devoted to their loved one, but self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is a necessity. So when caregivers take care of their own health and well-being, they're actually improving the quality of care they can provide. One thing people sometimes may not think about is elder abuse is real. Sometimes when caregivers get burnt out, they're exhausted, they may not be as patient. If they're having financial problems in their own personal lives, that could add an additional stress to it. It's very stressful on marriages sometimes. If people are not doing what they need to do to, care for themselves, care for the marriage while caring for the loved one, moving a parent into a home can also, be very stressful for that marriage. It's not enough alone time anymore. They may not be able to take trips, go on date nights. It's things that they may affect them, the relationship. So they have to think about still, focusing on their own self-care, the marriage and their children, and all these many things that we have to do in our lives, and the responsibility. So self-care doesn't have to be complicated. It can be a short walk, spending time with friends, attending a support group, reading a book, exercising, meditation, or simply just taking a few quiet minutes each day to recharge. So even small breaks can make a significant difference in reducing stress and preventing burnout. So that is very important when we think of elder abuse. Sometimes you think about people that maybe when they were children, their parents probably could have abused them. And if the parent abused them, then now so they just switch roles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when they switch the role, then that's something that um, need to be kind of looked at some, because if that person is now in that role and they're stressed and you got all these other facets going on, you just never know. So we have to really think about that and really focus on those particular areas and making sure that we're getting the rest and support that we need. And lastly, I want to encourage caregivers to contact their local area agencies on aging or our Mississippi Access to Care centers. We have a Mississippi Access to Care center here in our office, and that is a resource center where individuals can call and get some assistance and find out about local resources. And their number is 1-844-822-4622. So that is also our area agency on aging number as well. So if they dial that number, they'll get some assistance. We have here in the Jackson area, we have 7 resource specialists on staff that have been trained. They are AIR certified, and so they are very knowledgeable of resources that are here and available in the community. So caregiving is an act of love, but caregivers need support too. So taking care of yourself isn't stepping away from your loved one. It's ensuring you can continue being there for them for the long term.
Well, thank you so much. That is some great information that you've shared. Guys, listeners, go out there, participate in the assessments. Know that, don't feel guilty that you need help and you need assistance. Don't feel guilty that you have to give up of your life, or you don't feel like it, or you're having some feelings that you can't explain. The support is there for you. I'm going to post some resources on the website, askastria.com. And we thank you guys for joining us at 90.1 WMPR. Thank you so much, Dr. Criddle. Thank you for all that you do, and we appreciate you as Mississippians.
Yes, and thank you for having me.
No problem. You guys have a wonderful evening. I'll see you next time.
Let's get into it. Started from nothing. Now I charge per breath. I was overlooked.